It's a lot of real estate deals out there being canceled. What a time to be alive, right? But it's all a learning experience. Let's check it out.
Joining me now in the state of housing, Daryl Fairweather, Redfin chief economist, and here's a special treat. She's in studio with us. Usually she is remote, so it's good to see you in person.
It's great to see you too.
Although we're not talking about great numbers, to be fair. That cancellation rate is really interesting. So that's basically when somebody signs a letter of intent, they're going to buy the house, and then they say, never mind. So what's the rate right now, and what's contributing to that?
Well, cancellations have been going up. It reached a record high for this time of year, and it's really because home buyers and home sellers are not seeing eye to eye. Home buyers, they're facing these really high interest rates. They feel like it's not affordable to them. But home sellers have record low mortgage rates that they got during the pandemic, and they need an incentive to move. So when something goes wrong during escrow, like something comes up in the inspection and there needs to be some kind of payment to make things whole, buyers expect money, sellers don't want to pay, and the deal just tends to fall apart.
So that's interesting. They're looking for that as a negotiation point, and it's not always working. Sometimes I guess it works, but frequently I guess it doesn't, which is really interesting here. And then what about the competition figure? What is that reflecting?
Well, the sale to list ratio is falling, which means that more homes are selling for below their asking price, which is an indication that buyers are able to make offers successfully that are below the asking price. That usually only happens when they're the only buyer that's interested in the home. And sellers, if they don't have an offer from anybody else, they don't really have anything to negotiate with, so they have to lower their price in order to get the home sold.
And that is something that I always tell people, right? In times like this is one of the best ways to take advantage of the market and buy correctly, right? In the stock market, they always talk about buy the dip, right? But people always miss the dip in real estate. So what people are waiting for is lower rates. Now, me personally, just my strategy. I only buy a home that I'm going to use as a primary residence during market corrections. Okay, we haven't. The last crash was in 2008. I wasn't really that much into real estate. In 2008, I was just like literally fresh out of high school, but since then, anytime there's a market correction, or like during the winter time, every winter you see a market correction, right? Because less people want to move during the winter, especially on like the East Coast, the northern United States. That a lot of times is the best time to purchase a home because there aren't as many buyers in the market. You can submit a lower offer, right? And most people pay so much attention to the interest rate. Let me tell you something. Once you sign that paper, you cannot change what you paid for that home. You can change the mortgage rate, but you cannot change the price that you paid for that home. Okay. For me, I personally like to buy at a dip. When everybody was out during the pandemic trying to buy a home, I sat on my hands. Okay. Like, you all go out there and pay the high numbers with the low rates. That's what you want. Totally fine, right? But if we get into a deep correction, or how some people are hoping for a crash, well, now you're upside down, right? So you have to learn that some things are temporary. When the rates come down, as long as you still qualify, you still got your same income, you kept your credit intact, you can refinance into a lower rate. But what you actually pay for the home is what matters.
And we are in the fall season. What does that backdrop typically look like for the housing market?
The housing market tends to get really active in the spring and summer and falls when things start to cool down. It's back to school season. People are busy with other things. The holidays are coming up. So it's not usually when we see a lot of home buying activity. Mortgage rates have come down, which we thought might bring some home buyers back, but it's actually brought more home sellers to the table, which is a good indication that prices could moderate, because if there are more home sellers relative to home buyers, that means that buyers have more negotiating power and prices will likely fall.
But they're not falling yet, right? We are still seeing that upward trajectory for prices. And is that one of the other kind of sticking points for all of this?
Home prices have been increasing, but they're increasing slower than the rate of inflation. So in real terms, the values are starting to erode. I think this is an indication, though, that when mortgage rates fall, we probably won't see much of an acceleration in prices. Usually when mortgage rates fall, a bunch of buyers come back, there's competition, prices go up. But because home sellers have also been held back by mortgage rates, we think there'll be more sellers and more buyers, and that could keep prices more stable even as mortgage rates fall.
Interesting.
So let me say this really quick. So Trump wants to get the Federal Reserve to drop interest rates to zero. So once Jerome Powell leaves, he's trying to put his people in to get interest rates to zero. Now, the Federal Reserve interest rates have nothing to do with mortgage rates. There's like a weird relationship, right? Mortgage rates generally drop when you're in a recession, right? Or when there's a bad economic climate, because the mortgage rates come from the bond market. However, the federal funds rate somewhat has also an effect on it. But just because the Federal Reserve drops interest rates do not mean that mortgage rates will drop. So a lot of the things that you see going on in the economy is to get the effect of what we had during the pandemic back, because that was the Trump administration's claim to fame. Hey, stock market going crazy. You were able to borrow money cheap. You were able to get a cheaper car, right? You were able to get very good mortgage rates, right? So they're trying to recreate that scenario. But the flip side to that is it drives the prices of everything up. Okay. So when you have cheap money like that, free money, printed money at that acceleration, it drives the prices up. So right now, the average mortgage rate is bouncing from like 6 to like 6.2%. If these things drop back into the 2.3s, 2.5s, 3, 3 on the dot, even if we get to a 4, you're going to see price acceleration. Okay. You're going to see that the same thing that we saw during the pandemic. You're going to see that all over again. Right. And it's probably going to be worse because we still are under building. There still aren't enough homes available to go around as it is. So if the Trump administration gets their way, you will see another acceleration like we saw during the pandemic.
What about regionally? Are you seeing any places that are outliers from some of these overall trends?
Absolutely. The Midwest is a place where home values are increasing, which is pretty unusual historically. These Rust Belt cities, they used to be in decline pre-pandemic, but now we're starting to see their economies grow, incomes going up, and homes are still affordable there, at least relative to the national figure. You can still afford a home, say in Cleveland, on the median income, and that means that there are still buyers interested in buying, but there wasn't a lot of supply built during the pandemic in the Midwest. So this increased demand is coming up against limited supply, which is why prices are going up there.
Are we seeing a shift in regional, like where things are affordable? Like for a long, you get sort of those longer term trends of like the most affordable cities to live, but are we seeing a remaking of that at all during this latest period?
Well, the places that are getting more affordable are the places that have built a lot of housing. Think Texas and Florida. Texas is a place where home prices are falling because there was a lot of new inventory that came online. The new construction has slowed down, so I'm not sure how sustainable that will be because you need to keep building in order to keep prices affordable. But for now, you can get a deal there, especially if you're in the market for a condo. That's where we're seeing buyers having the most power and the most ability to negotiate down prices.
Don't buy a condo. Like, condos are like some of the worst. It just depends. If it's condo town, like Miami's condo town, right? Cool. But in the average place, they're harder to sell. The fees go up crazy, worse than HOAs. If the building becomes dated, the prices become stagnated. Condos just aren't where it's at. You're better off buying a single family home, in my opinion, or a townhome, right? And condos depreciate a lot slower than single family homes. Okay. Now, as far as this, again, it really all depends. Jerome Powell leaves in May, but Trump wants to get the money back cheap again, and the effect of that. And here's the thing: you gotta be a thinker, right? You have to be a thinker. The average American, when the rates come down, everybody is going to run out at the same time and try and purchase homes and drive the prices up. Okay, you have to be a thinker. If you fall into that crowd, and again, buy a home when you're ready, right? But I'm telling you, right? I'm a real estate agent, and most real estate agents will not tell you this. Purchasing a home with the cheap rates is not the ideal thing because you are going to overpay. Down payment assistance won't work as well. You're going to have to put a lot more money down. You're going to have to overshoot. You're going to have to, if the home appraises for $700,000, you may got to come in at $750 and say, forget that appraisal, right? So, it is what it is. That's the game. That is the game. So you have to remove the emotion and look at it like a business. Now everybody's different. If you plan to live there for 30 years, it doesn't matter. But if you want to, let's just say you want to stay here for 2 years and then you want to move on to another home, you have to buy the home right. Okay. I'm telling you now, when the cheap money rolls around once again, and it will, you're going to have people out here overpaying for these homes all over again. All over again. Okay. And really, essentially, all it's doing is kicking a can down the road, for a massive correction, because those chickens are going to have to come home and roost at some point. But I don't think that that's right now. Not right now. Okay. So, I know there are foreclosures ticking up and all of that is going on. But with that being said, if they get their way and they reduce these rates, or they're able to get the rates to come down in the next couple months, that is what you will see. Okay. So I just want to just give y'all that information. I appreciate you all tapping in. Take it for what it's worth. Think about it. Look at the data. And that's just real.